Perfect. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Blessing. Just want to say thank you to Anshu for inviting me to speak to you today. I'm a program leader at Leeds Trinity University, so I program lead on 2 degree apprenticeships. So that's business to business sales and digital marketing. And today I'm here to talk about dialogic assessment and would like to explore if this is a solution to some of the challenges that we're facing as educators when it comes to generative AI being used in assessments, and to explore this from a specific type, which is professional discussions. There are many types of dialogic assessments, but today we'll be focused more on professional discussions. Okay, so we are now teaching and assessing in a world where artificial intelligence, such as ChatGPT, are increasingly being integrated in teaching, learning, and assessment in a positive way. But there's also, the challenges and negative way, the platform is being misused by students in their work. While these tools are effective in terms of enhancing learning, this calls us to rethink how we assess our learners. And we need to think about what do we value most in assessments. And this brings me to the concept of using dialogic assessments. So it's thinking about, can we actually assess without being AI approved or AI informed? And I'll be interested to hear your thoughts at the end in terms of how you're responding to artificial intelligence issues and the challenges and the risks such as plagiarism, ghostwriting, generic responses. And the issue with traditional assessments is lack of authenticity when ChatGPT and other platforms are used. So we'll be exploring that a bit more. Okay, so what is dialogic assessment? Yes. So the whole idea of dialogic assessment is being able to shift us from that culture of submit an assignment and forget about it into a more of a model that prioritizes and values interaction and process. So it's not just about the end product. As educators, we need to understand the journey that our learners have gone through. How do they get to that decision? Why do they use certain theories and concepts in their work? The idea of dialogic assessment, it values learner voice. So it's about empowering learners to reflect on their learning, their perspective and critical thinking as well. So this is an adapted definition of dialogic assessment from the leading authors, Mecca, Hauer, Wegrif, and Alexander, which you can have included the link to that at the end of the slides. And their work is around dialogic assessment, which refers to interaction, so interaction between the educator and the learner or the apprentice, if it's in work-based learning or apprenticeship. But also it's feedback-rich process as well. It's not just about us as educators providing the feedback, but actually the learner or the apprentice being able to reflect on their learning journey, reflect on how they're performing as well as part of those discussions, and be able to evidence that. So through that, learners and educators will be able to co-construct understanding. So during that discussion or that dialogic element or space, you can correct the learner and get them to reflect on their thinking and identify where the learning gaps are. So dialogic assessment can be used for evaluating progress. So it could be for formative assessments, also for summative assessments as well. In the example of apprenticeships or degree apprenticeships, dialogic assessment is used as part of summative assessment, and now is actually widely used in formative assessment as well. So there are various examples and types of dialogic assessment. So there is Viva, which you're probably familiar with, oral defense, which is used in PhD level, and also structured professional discussion, which we'll touch on a little bit more in this session. So this model brings in the learner in terms of their active voice into the assessment process, alongside the assessor who guides them and probe them through that. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit more about professional discussions and what they are. As I said, that's one type of dialogic assessment. So a professional discussion, it's a form of or an assessment method that's typically used in apprenticeships. And we use this to assess the knowledge, skills, and the behaviors that are stipulated in the apprenticeship standard that the apprentices would be on. So a professional discussion is a structured, scaffolded conversation that enables the apprentice or the learner to articulate the knowledge and skills they've developed and being able to reflect on the practice and growth that they've gone through. When we look at traditional assessments, we are quite limited in terms of offering that opportunity to be able to do that in an authentic way. How it works, it can be done virtually. So a lot of us, do work in hybrid environments. So you can meet with an apprentice or a learner through Teams or Zoom, and then you'd ask them questions and probe them about the activities that they've done at the workplace. This can also be applied to assessments as well, if they're not work-based learning or apprenticeships. So for traditional degrees, instead of learners submitting a written assignment, they could use this as a way to demonstrate their knowledge. So it gives them the opportunity to be able to reflect at that present time as well. So why are professional discussions more effective compared to traditional assessments? So unlike written assessments, professional discussions are sort of resistant to AI shortcuts. You can't just put a prompt and get an answer. As I assess professional discussions, I'm looking at the authenticity, actually understanding if that learner, that apprentice has been able to actually apply that into the workplace. Have they actually done that work? There's a demand for personal reflection. It has to be personalized to the learner, their context, or to the apprentice in terms of their workplace and how they've applied certain context, theories, and models. It's about making learners engage in dialogue, which these are the skills that are difficult to sort of replicate using artificial intelligence, and they're also essential for professional life as well. So when they graduate on their programs, they're going to be using these skills to be able to apply, reflect, and really think about their application, what they're doing, and what difference and impact it's making. There's a lot around asking open questions. So there's an example there of some of the questions we ask during a professional discussion. So you could ask a learner, tell me about a time when you've led a project. That question opens up and they have the opportunity to explain the situation that they've been in terms of leading that project, what tasks they were responsible for, what actions they took, the results, and being able to reflect on that whole process as well. And through that, as an assessor, you will be actively listening to that discussion and being able to identify where the gaps are, and to also see if it's meeting the assessment criteria that are stipulated in the assignment brief as well. Okay. So I've conducted some research as part of my Doctor of Education studies where I've developed a professional discussion model with some key principles that we can apply as educators. So these are the 4 essential principles that are important when we're using professional discussions or dialogic assessment. So it's thinking about the pedagogical foundations of learning, looking at some learning theories that underpin the way we deliver our learning. For examples in degree apprenticeships, we emphasize on experiential learning, situated learning, and visible learning, which are some of the educational theories that we apply in our learning and development of our apprentices. There's an element as well of reflective dialogue and learner empowerment. We need to empower our learners to be able to take ownership of their learning. So through dialogic reflection, it empowers them to have a growth mindset. So it's not just about what they did, it's about how they've done it, why they did it in that specific way, and giving them that opportunity to reflect on their practice. This could be applied as well in traditional degrees, if they've attended a lecture on a specific topic and then they need to demonstrate their knowledge, they can verbally demonstrate that and think about how they're going to use that in the future, what other materials they've used to develop their learning. Another principle that's important in professional discussions is assessment for learning and development as well. So that's thinking about covering formative and summative assessment elements, looking at feedback theory and authenticity in evaluation. When I initially developed the model, it only consisted of the first 3, but through understanding opportunities and challenges, it's important to also consider implementation enablers, such as the technology and the tools that you're using. So if you're using Teams or Zoom, it has to be effective. Using the transcript as part of this, to be able to use that to upload as evidence as well. Okay. And these are some of the theoretical framework that underpins professional discussions when we use. So you've got reflective practice, dialogic pedagogy, experiential learning, formative, and feedback as well. So just linking back to the model that I've created, which is underpinned by these theoretical framework. So if you look at Sean's work on reflective inaction and Brookfield 2017, they emphasize that critical reflection positions professional discussion as a rich space for real-time, meaningful self-evaluation. So it's not just about us as educators evaluating and assessing our learners, but actually empowering our learners to evaluate their own learning and development as well. And some of the leading academics and authors in dialogic pedagogy, Wegerith and Cole, who highlight the importance of co-constructing knowledge through dialogue. So a professional discussion is not just a monologue, but it's about having those shared meaning and shared meaning making of events. So just because a learner understands it in one way, as an educator, you come in and continue that learning as well, even though it might be an assessment, which is a best practice for formative assessment. Experiential learning and situated learning also underpins this framework. So Kolb and Lev and Wenger demonstrate to us that learning is more effective when it's grounded in a real-world practice. So this is something that we need to continue, especially on traditional degrees, and thinking about what are students learning and how is that applied in real world practice. And this is quite something that we do on degree apprenticeships. We teach them the theories and the different models, and then they go into the workplace and actually apply that. But they come back again and being able to reflect on their experience. And we use professional discussions to be able to use that, and they use that to demonstrate situated, authentic, and professional learning context as well. And finally, the theoretical framework or model around formative assessment and feedback, which is underpinned by Black and Williams' work, Nicola and McFarlane, Dick and Hattie. It reminds us that timely feedback and dialogic feedback is quite important. We have diverse learners. Some learners do not quite, grasp or understand written feedback, but when feedback is given verbally, they're able to engage with it a bit more. And professional discussion allows that to happen through interaction and being able to identify what the learner has done well in real time, what they need to develop on, either prompting them to think about adjusting their answers or going away to apply that and reflect a bit more on that. And having that continuous personalized feedback loops as well. Okay, so I'm going to share with you now some case study example of application of professional discussions. And through this dialogic space, apprentices and learners demonstrate an integrated understanding of their knowledge, skills, and behaviors that they're learning. So from my doctoral research, where I conducted some qualitative research and evaluating the use and effectiveness of professional discussion. And there was a practice tutor that had an apprentice who was a bit behind with the evidence for their apprenticeship portfolio, and they were coming near to their endpoint assessment. The practice tutor recommended that they use a holistic professional discussion. So a holistic professional discussion focuses on a number of assessment criteria in one professional discussion or one reflective conversation. And one quote that I got from the semi-structured interview that stayed with me from the apprentice who participated in my research was that it wasn't just about what I knew, it was how I connected it all together, and that's when it clicked. And that's really the focal point of professional discussions. It's about being able to bring everything together and connect all the different elements as well. So rather than treating assessment criteria, knowledge, skills, and behaviors in isolation, we would encourage to use a holistic professional discussion because it enables us to have a 360-degree view of competence, knowledge, and experience as well. It encourages critical thinking, narrative coherence. That's far beyond a tick box or a checklist exercise. So that's one example there. The second example is a second case study that I would like to share with you is focused professional discussion. So this is more about targeted depth for critical knowledge, skills, and behaviors or assessment criteria. So PDs or professional discussion can act as a powerful tool for scaffolding learning, especially when learners or apprentices, find it a challenge to be able to articulate their knowledge in traditional forms. So this could be used as an intervention for those learners that are more effective by verbally articulating their knowledge, their understanding, and how they've met the assessment criteria. So this was evident effectively with one of our CMDA chartered manager apprentice who found it a challenge to articulate their understanding about data protection law and ethical data use in writing. So to address this, the practice tutor facilitated a focused professional discussion, which was more focused on specific assessment criteria. So in this example, it was around GDPR and ethical considerations in leadership. And their feedback was, it wasn't until I talked it through that I realized I knew more than I thought. I just couldn't get it down on paper. And this highlights the importance of personalized learning and assessment. And it's thinking about getting to know our learners and thinking about, are they more effective through written evidence, or do we need to give them the opportunity for a dialogic assessment? Okay, so in the next section, we're going to look more around how to design effective dialogic assessment. So for dialogic assessment to be successful, designing them is quite key. So the pre-work and the delivery and the during and the post-work is quite important. So it starts off through purpose and alignment. So it's about understanding where the apprentice or the learner is in their learning journey, and identifying assessment criteria that you'd like to focus on, or if they're already predetermined in terms of the assessment brief, or if you work in work-based learning or apprenticeship, it's identifying the KSBs or the knowledge, skills, and behaviors that they need to demonstrate and being able to align that through professional discussion. And then you select your topic as the educator or the assessor, and then you design some questions. You can actually send the questions in advance so that the learner can prepare themselves in thinking about their answer and reflecting that and making some notes which they can bring into the professional discussion session. This is then followed by the actual live professional discussion session, which can be done face-to-face or via video conferencing too. I would advise maybe doing it more on Teams or video conferencing too, because you can record it and you can get a transcript as well, although they're not very effective in terms of the transcript. So they'll need to do some editing following on from that. And then you record the conversation, and you provide instant feedback during the discussion and at the end of the discussion, and actually follow on with some feedback and feed forward as well. And it's important to use scaffolding techniques or probe the learner to provide further details in terms of, why did you do it that way? Why did you lead your team in this specific way? Why did you use that framework instead of the other? So they can provide the analytical and evaluation to achieve the higher grades. And using also the STAR method. So start off with the situation, ask them what was the situation, what task, what action, and the results. And it's good to share this in advance so that they frame their answers and their responses using this framework. So the whole idea around this is about improving, equality. Assessors need to support, facilitate this in a fair and a rigorous way as well. Okay, so how can you use dialogic assessment or professional discussion in your different sectors? So you don't have to replace everything with professional discussion, but it's about exploring and thinking about integrating them alongside other assessment methods. So you could use portfolios and then have a dialogic discussion about their portfolio so they can present to it. We're seeing the rise of peer professional discussions, getting experts to be involved in that. Using simulation can bring learning to life as well. By using this model, it promotes accountability, so the learner will take ownership of their learning and offer rich feedback loop for tutors and their learners as well. And the key thing is about giving them the opportunity to reflect, to be able to discuss evidence and feedback as part of that. Okay, so just like with anything else, there are some challenges. These are the challenges that I identified through the research that I conducted. So we had some technical and logistical issues. One of the main challenges we had is once the recording was done, they needed to upload it onto an e-portfolio system. We used OneFile or My Knowledge Map. And the issue is those systems could not save big recording files. So to resolve that, we had to encourage apprentices to download a transcript and then upload that as their evidence, but still keep the recording as well. So it's about investing in cloud storages, effective transcription, set of tools, and having a dedicated team to support, or a resource hub where you provide questions, templates, and tools to help with this. We noticed that some of the assessors lacked facilitation training, so it's important to think about continuing professional development in facilitating dialogic assessment, creating dialogic assessment rubrics and grades to be able to establish communities of practice. So it's about bringing educators together to reflect and learn from each other, and sort of similar to this webinar that we have. Peer observation as well, so getting educators to observe other professional discussions and provide each other feedback. Validity and academic standards is always an issue when we introduce innovative ways of assessments. So through the use of annotated scripts, using dialogic assessment rubrics that are tailored to professional discussions or dialogic assessments. Encourage learners to use supporting evidence or supplementary evidence as well. Sometimes the audio recordings or the discussions is not enough. They need to provide artifacts to be able to triangulate their learning, their evidencing of their learning as well, which will help with the validity and the quality standards as well. But with the right structures in place, these challenges are manageable and are worth the effort to be able to use dialogic assessment or professional discussions in your field. So what is the future direction or emerging trends that we're seeing in the use of dialogic assessment and professional discussions? So in the future, there's going to be AI enhanced dialogic feedback. As I appreciate, in some courses, there are hundreds of students, and you're not going to be able to meet each individual apprentice. So in the future, an AI platform or a chatbot will be able to facilitate the professional discussion or dialogic assessment and be able to provide dialogic feedback. Immersive and multimedia professional discussions where you use visuals in presenting the work that they've done. Being able to adapt this into the learner's context and environment, and also peer-led and decentralized assessment methods as well is something that we'll potentially see in the future. Okay, and finally, these are the key takeaways that I would like to share with you and encourage you to reimagine assessment as we know it. As we face generative AI revolution, as I said, it has its own benefits and challenges, but let's not fall into the panic of or be in a situation where we're policing and actually identifying cheating in assessments. But let's reimagine how we hear, see, and know that learning has happened, and dialogic assessment can be part of that future as well. So we must evolve our assessments and change them to meet the requirements and the needs of our learners. Dialogic assessments and professional discussions, do offer authenticity and learning dialogue. And we need to redesign and not just detect teaching as well. Okay, so thank you for listening. I will take any questions And thanks for being part of the conversation. I would love to hear your thoughts and questions, and also see if this model would work in your different sectors, and how you're approaching the challenges that we're facing with assessments as well. And also I'll be happy to connect with people if you have any further questions. My email address there, or you can connect with me on LinkedIn.